TYFU.
And now we begin.
Mm-hmm.
The next episode
of Thank You for Understanding.
So glad you could join us, Beth.
I'm always here, though. I join us every time. I'm glad you could join us, Marilla.
I'm glad I could, too. You never know what could happen any day.
Oh, gosh, that makes me feel nervous.
Oh,
It wouldn't be the same without you, and I hope it wouldn't be the same without me.
Maybe I sleep through, not that I die.
I have trouble with anxiety, so I just picture going to your funeral
And I
or
don't.
mine.
I'm thinking nap. Beth is thinking the eternal sleep.
I know.
All right.
Anyways,
And that's why we have a
We
podcast.
can both be here.
Yes, me too.
And balance each other out.
Yes.
And I'm glad our listeners are here, and I'm glad our sponsors are here. That's some business I'd like to do this week, is to remind listeners that if they love this podcast, that they can put some money behind it, and that would help us grow, which is really what we're after.
That is exactly what we're after. We want to reach more of your ears so that more of you can understand this little podcast.
Become part of the TYFU. I don't know.
We have to come up with some catchy name.
I know.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll do a little post on Instagram and you guys can tell us what is the TYFU community called?
Yes.
TYFUers? I don't like that.
We got to workshop this a little bit.
There are smarter, cleverer people out there that are going to give us great ideas. But anyway, if you want to advertise or sponsor the podcast, however you want to think about it, or you know someone who should
that's a
be
great idea,
sponsoring the podcast,
let them know that we have opportunities available and they can contact us at tyfupod.com. And in the meantime, thanks to all of you who are just liking and sharing and commenting and telling your friends and helping us grow in
Organically.
that way. Organically.
it helps so much. It all goes to the same goal. So yes, if you aren't looking to advertise, just share a reel, share the
that's a way to
podcast,
do it
send
without-
an episode.
At no cost.
Exactly.
And it helps
totally
us a
free.
lot, so
and it
thank
makes
you.
us feel famous.
All right. So business is done for this week.
This is true. I believe that means it is time to rip an envelope.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Some of the best feedback we receive at TYFU is from small business owners who say, I'm glad to hear that I'm not alone.
In Geneva, small business owners are never alone.
The Geneva Business Improvement District is your partner.
BID works to increase foot traffic for downtown businesses with marketing and promotion.
BID also hosts events to draw customers and keeps downtown beautiful so they'll stay.
Want to learn more? Visit BID today at genevadowntown.com.
The time has come to rip the envelope. For real this time. I'm not jumping the gun.
Yeah. I want you to do it because I'm so nervous about this episode.
What are you talking about, Beth? You don't know what's in this envelope. All right, I'm going to rip the mystery envelope.
Oh, what a surprise.
What a surprise. Our topic today is crushes.
Yeah.
Crushes. In what sense
Oh, so many senses.
is it crushes?
Yeah.
Like, what are we getting into today?
Well, in the last episode, we did discuss the problem, the prison,
The burden.
the burden of customers feeling a certain way about us or our employees.
People falling in love with us. They can't help it.
Just to put it boldly.
Yeah.
You wanted to do crushes. Like, I was even uncomfortable on the last episode when we talked about it. I'm like, oh my God.
When we vaguely
When we-
flirted with the
flirted.
idea that someone might fall in love with us
and
for
then
being so
you
charming.
were like, we should do an episode on crushes. And I said, no.
You did.
I did.
Shut it right down.
I texted you, no.
Capital shouty letters.
And then I had to look inward. And
As we often do on
yeah.
this podcast.
So when you said crushes, were you specifically talking about customers being like all hot and bothered?
My initial thought about crushes was, yes, navigating when customers come in and just they can't help it but fall in love with the very nice person behind the counter. But 1 second after I thought of that, I thought of all the people through the years that I have had crushes on. Just,
Sure.
that come in on a regular, like, it's real. Like, I mean, Kelly Walker's been coming in for years now. And how do we even,
when he comes to my store? I love it.
how do we even contain ourselves?
I know.
I don't know.
I know I get inappropriate with him every time.
Ladies, stop. Stop. That's what he says.
I can't even shop here.
No peace. No peace at all. So yeah, I was immediately thinking of Kelly Walker. And yeah, it's a two-way street. It is a two-way street. And I was thinking mostly harmless and just fun and lighthearted. But as I thought more about this topic, I did unearth a few heavier moments.
It goes dark.
It can.
It
gets. It's a roller coaster.
This episode, if any of our episodes need a trigger warning, it may be this one, because Marilla has a dirty mouth, and who knows what I'm just gonna say.
I just blew the mic up.
I'm gonna say there are I have in mind some uncomfortable situations.
Oh, I do too.
Where customers are really out of line.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a trigger warning or if it's just a squirm warning.
This is the one where the explicit warning is going to really come in handy.
Yeah, we're not just talking about waxing vaginas in this episode. We've
covered that.
We've covered steamier topics. Well, I say let's stop stalling.
Well, let me first tell you, if you'll allow me, I want to talk to you about my list of hesitations.
Oh, I do want to know this.
Okay.
Yes.
So, number one on my list of hesitations was I don't actually want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Ooh, for
Right?
sure.
And so if we get too detailed
sure.
and people recognize themselves and we're talking about how they loved us and we didn't love them back, I feel like that's very sensitive, and I just don't want to. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think it is sticky, and that is why I have hesitated to bring this topic up for a little while. But at the same time, I think we should not feel uncomfortable about being honest about this topic and how it makes us feel when we're put in that position at work. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily that, I know I want to go into this episode. We're going to talk about some interactions that are a little yikes to the listener. But I will say, barring one or two, I can laugh about almost all of these stories.
Can they, Marilla? Can they laugh about them?
I think so, because I don't, my intention with these stories is not to embarrass anyone or make people feel bad, because I think it's very human, and I think they're all very, I don't know if explainable is the word, like they're understandable interactions.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Marilla, but I have been rejected in love once or twice.
Oh, I have to really dig
don't know what
deep.
That's like.
And I don't wear pants, Beth. No one rejects me. No, I'm kidding. Of course.
Yes. So as we joke about this kind of thing, it's not without some kind of compassion and sensitivity.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know about you, but I think I have a couple stories that are plenty embarrassing on my own account. Don't you worry. The other day, again, we're stalling, but I had a listener come up to me and they were listening to an episode about one of our episodes about Heard It a Million Times. Mm-hmm. And they said, I had to stop listening. I was so uncomfortable because what if someone feels, embarrassed about it? And I said, well, did you finish it? And she goes, no, I haven't finished it yet. I said, well, listen to the rest of it, because in almost every episode we come full circle and realize that we do the exact same thing in some sense. Now, this episode, there may be some things that I do not do.
Haven't done.
But for the most part, I would say, we are trying to come at every topic with good faith and
humility.
Good fun and humility. And we have been there too, guys. We have asked if this is free. And we have asked if you have a bathroom that we can use.
We have, yeah. So number 2 was I knew that some of the stories that we had to tell would be explicit and maybe triggering. Number 3 and related is I'm worried like people will be like, oh my God, Beth is such an asshole. I can't listen to this anymore. Like that was a secret worry of mine.
Well, this is the beauty of having an expert producer like Kelly Walker. If we reveal that we are truly assholes, Kelly is just going to put some nice classical music over that part and no one will know, Beth.
Also, I understand that some assholes have podcasts and they do very well with them. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to name any names, but I mean, a couple do jump to mind. So I feel like we can dip our toes in this water a little bit.
So number 4 and number 6 on my list, I'm going to skip over.
This is a lot of hesitation.
I'm going to skip over. I know. This
I thought we were doing like 1, 2, 3. No, we're up to 6. Okay.
Well, 4 and 6, I'm just going to go because we've kind of covered them. I'm worried about sounding arrogant. I'm worried about sounding hypocritical. And then I'm going to go back to number 5 and be like, I'm worried about generational differences between us.
Ooh.
Right? Because I'm
curious
in my
about
late
that.
20s and you're in your...
And I'm 16.
I'm older than you.
Well, I'm so curious about that. Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know
curious.
if it'll come up, but it was one of my hesitations because ways that I've handled situations in the past are not the ways that I would handle situations currently and not the ways that I would protect my employees from situations.
Right.
But I'm going to have to tell some stories about the 90s.
Oh, yeah. It was the 90s. We got to tag that. There's an Instagrammer who does videos about the 90s. I'll tag him. We'll get famous.
Okay, good.
Kevin.
Listen to that, sponsors.
Listen.
Okay, so those are all my hesitations. And once I just was able to say them out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look at them and be like, this is still a worthwhile episode because you and I cannot be the only women or people who have stood behind a counter and been in cringy, uncomfortable situations with people who are madly in love with us.
Yeah.
I know how attractive our listeners are. So screw my hesitations. We're going forward because the people need it.
That is right. And so, without further ado...
Wait, did we rip the envelope? Oh, yeah,
Beth,
like several hours ago.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, even after all that, we're still doing this episode. We still... And I say it with all the love in my heart, get over it. Okay. We have an episode
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yep.
I'm ready. Where do you want to start?
I want to know, how old were you when you started working behind a counter?
16.
All right. I would say I was 17. So we're starting at the same point. Where did you work?
My first job was at, like, I don't want to name the name, but it was a burger joint. I was not good at waitressing, so I moved from there to grocery store and loved that job and had a number of affairs.
Ooh.
Young teenager.
I mean, let's start at the grocery store.
The grocery store was a, I don't know, like a garden of delights.
Yes. Yes.
But wait, I don't want to just like...
No, let's just get into the Garden of Delights. You can't tell us the grocery store was a Garden of Delights and be like, but you go ahead. Let's just jump into the garden.
I loved the grocery store. I loved the staff.
Okay.
I worked at a grocery store. I'm blushing already.
All right, what did you do over at the grocery store?
Well, it's funny because you know Kyle, who does our
graphics.
Our graphics.
Yes.
Kyle is a friend from my childhood, and he was in town, and we ended up going to this grocery store.
Oh,
just
I love
yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind.
And did you do anything
with Kyle? No.
All right.
But he was like, he asked me a question it was kind of a racy question about what I did in the parking lot of that grocery store.
Kyle, did he know we were doing this episode or what?
No, it's just purely a coincidence.
All right,
and
all
it
right.
brought back a flood of memories, and that is why I say the grocery store was a garden
of delight
as a teenager.
Okay, so we're setting the scene for our
This
listener.
has nothing to do with customers, although there were some customers. I did go out on dates with some customers.
All right,
Here's
let's
where
start
the
there.
90s come into play. Like, this whole episode, I think, is going to be about why you can't hit on people behind counters. But I'll tell you what.
But you can.
But
you physically
you can.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out.
And people do. Okay, so we're setting the scene. Basically, the scene of this whole episode is like you're sitting behind the counter at work, whether that's at the grocery store, whether that's at the library, whether that's at the dentist. Somebody hits on you or asks you, let's just say, start out there. They ask you on a date. How does that happen? And what, like, how many dates have you been asked on, Beth, behind the counter?
A few. I don't have a list.
Like a handful, would you say?
Like scratches on the bedpost or anything, Marilla, but
Come on, Beth. All right.
I would say dozens.
Wow.
I'm thinking of
What's one that stands out?
Okay,
Yeah, let me lay one on me.
I remember one time this young man went through my line at the grocery store, and he was wearing a T-shirt that I found compelling.
All right.
And I commented on the T-shirt, and we started talking about the musical artist that was represented on his T-shirt. And then he asked me if I wanted to do something. I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember hanging around in the parking lot with him.
After work?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Classic.
I remember very clearly smoking some Camel Lights because that's what I did in the 90s.
I mean, didn't we all? I was just a mere 8 years old.
On a tailgate. And I know we went out a couple of times. It didn't lead to love, but
it led to a few good dates.
Yes, it did. And that's one example. And then another one jumped out. I'll just tell it now.
Please.
And then we can undo everything I'm saying because the point of this episode is not to hit on people behind counters.
Wait a minute. This sounds like you could go on great dates if you just go with the people that ask you out. But go ahead. Go ahead.
This one is ridiculous. I'm losing all credibility on our podcast. And I'm having a great time doing it.
I feel like a sage and wise old woman at this moment.
My face is so red right now because I'm so embarrassed going through all these memories of my youth.
I love every minute of it. And I can't even tell your face is red.
Oh my God. It's because I'm
not
in the
even
red room.
showing. Yeah, right. It's fine.
When I was older, like in college.
Okay.
So I was like 19 or 20.
All right.
I worked at a bookstore.
Okay.
It's so absurd.
You found the books.
Yes. This young man came in and he asked me to order a certain book. It wasn't in stock. I ordered it. And it was sort of like an encyclopedia or a dictionary of fetishes. So it came in and I was like, this is all very interesting. I've never heard of that. I didn't know people did
that. Right. Who would have guessed?
Who thought of that?
Who would have guessed?
Creative.
How creative.
Right.
Yes.
I know this sounds silly, but intellectually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm right there with you.
I thought it was neat.
I am right there with you. If I had that book in front of me, I'd be like, no, not that. Right. Who thought of that? Yeah, no, I'd be right there with you. We're on the same brainwave.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was.
You're doing research.
Cool. It was cool to learn about all this different stuff. I wasn't like taking my clothes off or anything. I'm just flipping through the pages.
You weren't adopting any of them specifically.
So the man comes in to pick up his book, and I was like, this is a very interesting book. I never heard of some of this stuff, and I'm like having this super naive.
You knew it was a fetish book, right?
I know, but I still didn't get it somehow. Like I still.
Right. Did you think he was like a professor or something of fetishes?
I don't know what I thought.
I love it. I love it.
I wasn't like, let's get it on. I was just
right. You were just having that conversation. Yeah.
Like, wow, this is really neat. I've never heard of.
Again, who would have thought?
And here's your book.
Yep.
And he's.
I feel like you have told me this story partially
Yes, I have,
in
because
the past.
So anyway, he's like, yeah,
Interesting.
we should get together for a coffee sometime and we can talk about it.
You
And I
really
was like,
skipped some details last time, Beth.
Sure, that sounds really fun. And I went out on a date with this man.
A coffee date?
A coffee date. A poetry coffee date, which is something that people did in the 90s.
So it was
the
daytime?
Friends era.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
early evening.
Oh, early evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
This does not turn into a romance.
Okay,
for
that
me.
was just a one. Okay.
We went out, we talked, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was not leading to romance.
Not
I was
spicy.
totally on this, like, oh, this is interesting.
Right.
Not like we're dating.
Yeah, you're like, I don't actually have a foot fetish. I'm just interested in that existing.
In fact, I have to say, just to to fill in some of the dots, we went out on a date. It became clear to me that this was a man who was interested in exploring some things. I was not interested in exploring those things.
Smart girl.
And so that was the end of the road for me
Love that.
with him.
To be continued.
So later,
Okay.
this is awful. Like, I can't even believe I'm telling this story. But
I
then
don't even need
went
to talk on this
bookstore,
episode.
And then I went and started working at Victoria's Secret, which is its whole other, like,
Oh my God. I love
realm
that.
realm of weird
Where? At a mall?
at a mall.
In the 90s?
In the 90s.
Oh, that was the highest point for
Of
Victoria's Secret.
Tell me about it. The Miracle Bra,
Oh my
Rapture,
God.
the perfume.
Yes.
So he came in
So-
one day while I was working. It was Valentine's Day week.
Oh no.
And he gave me a gift.
Oh, no,
And he's
no,
like,
no.
you don't have to open this now. You can if you want to, but you don't have to
Oh.
open this now. And I was like, I think I won't.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, I've used that tactic many
think
times.
I won't.
Disengage. Yeah, thanks so much. I don't care about this enough to do this now. Take the hint.
It wasn't even that though. Like, I just didn't feel comfortable. Like the
Guy ordered a fetish book. You don't know what's in that box.
Right.
Bag.
right.
So
So
What
he
was in
left,
it?
And I opened it in front of all my coworkers.
Of
And it was,
course.
of course, handcuffs. And like this was the gift he gave me at work, though, and that is the weirdest part about it to me. It wasn't that it was
Oh.
handcuffs.
Yeah.
it was a fetish guy. Whatever.
right, of course.
But it's not
was
right
his love
For
language.
to say to me, you can open this at work.
Oh my God,
Right.
yeah, what? Oh, yes. Ooh, okay, yeah, talking.
No, that's
Talking about-
So this circles back to inappropriate at work.
Inappropriate at work, which, right, every now and again in a sitcom or a movie, it really works out if you go in and there's this cute person at the coffee shop and you give them your number and you go out on a date and then you're married for 50 years. But very seldom is that how it works in real life. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it is inappropriate. It's not always wrong, but it is inappropriate, I think. See, I walk a line because there's a part of me that thinks that it shouldn't happen at work. But then there is a part of me that is like, okay, if I'm working with, I don't know, it's very hard to navigate because it's like, if it's a matter of like two other adults that
sure.
are living their own life and want to have their own garden of delights, like, is it my business to, harsh the vibe and be
I don't know.
a cock block? I don't know. Like, I think I can. And I think that it's very noble of us to want to do, like, to protect and to maintain
Some decorum.
some decorum,
Some professionalism.
some professionalism. But yeah, there have been times where I've gotten in my head about, like, is it my business? And the answer is yes, it is your business. Like, if you feel like that's inappropriate in your workspace, then you do what you feel like you need to do because it's your business. And I say that about prices, and I say that about what hours you're open, and I say that about people coming in and hitting on you and your workers.
For the workers, I mean, I think this is part of the joy of being in a small business, or maybe part of the risk. I don't know. But I know my girls,
My girls.
and they talk to me, and I know who they want to see and who they don't.
Right. That's
And
true.
so there have been moments where I have asked people to leave, knowing that my workers were not excited to see those people.
Yes.
There have been other moments where I went in the back room because I knew one of my workers was excited
Was
to see
working on
someone.
something.
Right?
Yeah, right. And where's the line? I think you hit the nail on the head in that, like, you have to, especially in micro business settings, it's a real, I think it's a very special thing to be able to get to know the people that you work with enough to be able to exercise some discernment that feels accurate. Because there's definitely times where it's all fun and funny and haha and it's great, and then there's other times
and light.
it's cute and light and it enriches the work day or whatever.
Yeah.
It gives a story for to tee-hee about. But then there's other times where, like you said, you have to ask someone to leave or ban them from your store forever.
Yes, and I know you have a story about banning someone from your store forever.
I sure do.
I don't know. It's going to go dark.
It's going to go dark real quick, so I don't know if we want to go there. I have a couple I'll just throw in. I want to say the first time. See, for me, I don't know what the guys were like that were asking you out during your time in the Garden of Delights or Victoria's Secret or the bookstore. But let me tell you, I have not had a lot of people that are my type ask me out on dates at work. And I don't know why that is. It is humbling, though, because you think, gee, I'm really not attracting who I think I am, and I'm really not feeling like what I'm putting out is bringing in what I'm looking for. And so I think the first time I was ever asked out at work, it was a gentleman who is quite a bit older than me. And I think he was a little loopy most days. Most days didn't make much sense. But he came in one day and very kindly asked me if I like to drink tea. And I said, you know what? I do. And he was like, oh, perfect. Well, I'm not doing anything tonight, so why don't you come up to my apartment and have some tea? And I was like, wow, this is so much more romantic in the movies when people ask this. And it was not exciting for me. And I had to tell him, no, I actually forgot that I hate tea. And I'm not going to do that. But that was the first time someone ever asked me out at work. So it set the bar very low. And I can't say that it was as delightful. I don't know that I've ever gone on a date because of work, because you were hogging all the charming men in the 90s. But it's happened. And I always think to myself, like, why are you asking me on a date? I am literally just a girl that you met like 10 minutes ago, and I'm helping you with your stuff, and here we are. A lot of mine are old.
Old
were
men?
They? Yeah,
Or?
like were your people like at least your age in the neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, great.
But it was the 90s. I'm saying it was a cowboy era. Anybody could ask anybody out at any time.
Well, right.
And they did.
Maybe these men of mine were living in the 90s.
They
still.
probably were, Marilla,
Maybe
honest
they
to
were.
God.
Maybe.
Because they have, I honestly think that there's men, thank God, and women are much more aware and sensitive about this kind of stuff, what's appropriate and what's inappropriate now than they used to be. I really think that.
Yeah, I think
the fact is that this is happening to you, generally speaking, from all the stories I know that you've told me, it happens to you with older men maybe of my generation and older, who haven't gotten the memo that this isn't how we behave in the world anymore, for better or worse.
it could be. It could be. It could be. I would say for me, in like fast forwarding maybe a few years from the 90s, it's a little more subtle. I think perhaps guys are a little shy about just asking somebody to hang out after work or something. But it's more of a long game, I feel like, for...
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You get the hangers-arounders.
The hangers-arounders. Like, I have had gentlemen come in and spend 45 minutes, an hour. But I mean, just so long. And at a certain point, you're thinking, like, I don't know if you can relate to this, Beth, but at a certain point, I'm thinking, okay, I know what you're in here for. I know you're trying to, like, work the scene. I don't have time. Like, I have to get back to work. I don't have time to talk to you for another hour. But it's like, if you let them, they would. And they'd never even get around to, like, asking the question. So, like, that's uncomfortable.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by. It's always good to see you. Yeah.
This reminds me of a story. But this might be from the early aughts.
Oh, early aughts. All right.
I had a hanger-arounder. In my old bookstore before Stomping Grounds. My mom worked with me. So my mom and I would be working all day together. And we had this strange hanger-arounder. And I didn't get, like, the vibe from him.
Yeah. Because it's a vibe, right?
Yeah, it's a vibe.
Like, you can tell.
But he'd come around a lot and not buy anything and stay for a long time. And just, like, I thought he was a lonely person.
All right.
So one day my mom was watching the store for me by herself. And when I got back to the store, she reported to me that this person had invited her out for a coffee. And
what?
Yep.
He was trying to get around you.
Yeah, to get to the mom. So
honestly, that would happen to me. If anyone's ever met my mother, oh my God.
I think we have this in common.
She's charming.
Attractive mothers is what we have.
Attractive moms.
Yeah. So, anyways, my mom declined. She was involved in a relationship at the time, and she said, no, thank you. And that was sad.
Sad for him. Yeah.
I thought we probably wouldn't see him again.
Right. Rejection is
shot the shot, and mom said no.
Right.
And
we have talked.
And it's hard to go back to the store.
Rejection is yucky.
I saw him again one day when my mom wasn't at the store.
Soon after?
Soonish.
Okay.
Soonish. And he came into the store, and I was like, oh, hi.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry to tell you, mom isn't here today.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, honestly, I'm glad. Because I wanted to ask you, would you like to have a coffee sometime?
Oh my God. This man is so brave. He's so brave. Wow.
So anyway, I declined
because you had inside information.
I was second choice, clearly.
Right.
Well, not that I was that hot for him
in the first place, but how insulting.
I don't think it's any young woman's dream to be second choice to her mom.
Wow. Do you think he knew that you knew that he'd already asked your mom out?
I don't know. I didn't.
Probably not. He was probably just like, you know what, moving on.
I was a little annoyed, honestly, Marilla.
Did you say, what? Did you just decline?
I just declined. I didn't need to go into it.
Beth nowadays would have just.
I probably would have addressed it full on.
Yeah.
Me as a grown-up woman probably would have been like, wait a second. Let's do the math here.
Right. Let's just do this equation together. Oh my God. Starting at the top and working your way down. Well, that's like the opposite of what most people do.
Most people go for the young ones, but not in my case. So,
wow. Well,
anyways,
that's humbling, but
it sure was. But Anyway.
You didn't hire your mom at Stomping Ground?
Like, I didn't want the competition.
Yeah,
Right?
I get that. No, I mean, I tell you what, I mean, I don't think anybody's asked my mom out on a date when she has been at my store working. Have they, Mom? We'll talk. But no joke. Maybe this isn't like totally in line with the episode, but when every now and again, my mother will work the store. And she is so charming and so beautiful and so talented and so adept at service that, like, people love her. And I'll come back after a week away and people will be like, oh, your mom's not here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Marilla.
Oh, hey, Marilla. I just didn't get to say goodbye to your mom. I'll be like, okay, this is my shop. See the name on the front? It's not Paula. Okay. Yeah. So, like, as a whole, my customers just as a whole have a working crush on my mom. And, and whenever she's working the store, I'm pretty sure business is better and we sell more things.
We'll capitalize on it. Now, I want to ask you this. Do you ever capitalize on someone having a crush on you or your employee? And can you sleep nights if you do?
That's a good question. I think... Okay, well, let's work backwards. Okay. I sleep fine.
Yeah, that's right. We established that. Like episode 3, we established that Marilla never.
So let's work backwards. I'm sleeping fine. So that might mean I'm a terrible person or a good person. So I'm sleeping fine these days. I think... Here's the thing. Maybe, okay, yes. I guess the answer is yes. Yes, I do. But it's not just to be manipulative. It's more like an exchange for time. I feel like if you come in and you have a crush on me and you want to chit chat just for the sake of chit chatting with me, and I am at my store with the intent to do business, the least you can do
is buy something.
And so I have more patience and more time and attention for the people that come in, and maybe I know that they have a crush on me, for the people that come in and take my time, but then they choose to buy something. It makes me feel like they're respecting my time and they're not just coming in to, like, I don't know, look at me in my box and then be like, okay, well, I hope you make some money today. Like, I do have people that come in and do that and just, like, chit chat, and, like, it will even be as brazen as to say how, like, cute I am or a worker is or whatever. And then they just go on their merry way and they don't spend one penny in the store. And that annoys me. So I don't know if that's capitalizing on people having crushes on us, but I don't know. I definitely worked backwards there, but
no, but I think it's a fair answer.
Right.
To me, it's like whether people have a crush on you or not, that's kind of their business.
Right.
Right. Your business
none of mine.
is to sell stuff in the store. And so whether or not they have a crush on you, you're there to sell things and you're there to encourage people to buy things. That is your job.
Right.
So,
and when I say, like, when I know they have a crush on me, I'm making an assumption there, which we have talked about. And sometimes those assumptions are incorrect.
They make an ass out of you.
And they make an ass out of me. So I don't know. I think I always feel a little relieved, just like with any sale, when someone comes in and I might be catching a vibe that there might be some sparks flying. And then they're like, okay, and I would like to spend $20 with you. I'm like, okay, you're okay by me.
It's a separate issue, kind of.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. But yeah, I guess in that sense, I do like to capitalize on the crushes. I feel like if we're hitting it off romantically and or friend-wise, it's always better if you leave when you bought a little something. Even if it's a pack of gum. I don't care.
Do you want to now talk about the hard things? And that's a pun.
Well, I think whether I want to or not, we can't waste that good of a lead in. So yeah, I'd say let's dive in. I actually just thought of something that's a little more lighthearted, but I think I'm going to save it until after this story.
Yeah, I've got a happy ending
And
too.
so-
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yep, fun.
Oh. All right. So there's all this lighthearted, Garden of Delights talk. But sometimes it is a garden of horrors. And there have been a couple in my time that have been not so delightful. So I'm going to relay this one. And I'm going to preface it by saying that I have the okay to relay it, and we're all cool and copacetic. So, I work at my store, and a few other majorly attractive ladies work at Marilla's Mindful Supplies.
I know. It's a garden of delights.
It is a garden of delights for some. I did sometimes wonder when in my lifetime as a business owner, I would have to really kick somebody out for good. And I would think about all the different situations,
Scenarios
that might arise. I did not think that it would be a 93-year-old man. Mm-hmm. And that is where our story begins. So for a while, my manager at the Geneva store, Halie, she is a dream. She has
Dimples?
been Dimples. Oh my God.
I mentioned that because I know that you have a customer who calls her Dimples because she's adorable. Okay.
Yes, and Halie does have dimples, and there is a man who comes into our store, although I don't think he has a crush on anyone, really.
No. And he's not like, it's all about vibe. This goes back to it.
Yeah, he doesn't give you he's not a creepy vibe. No. I just really, truly think he doesn't have time to learn anyone's names, and so Dimples, Halie has become Dimples. So here we go. Dimples has gotten to know one of our customers. He's this elderly man who lives in the community and comes in every now and again. Not that often, but he came in, they met, they have common interests. They both volunteer similar places, yada, yada, yada. And they became friends. And they were friends for quite some time. I want to say a year or so. And then... And when I say friends, I mean volunteering places, getting coffee, very grandfatherly vibes off of this one. So recently, this individual came into my store and my manager was working the store. Dimples was holding things down. And he came into the store and started chit-chatting with her. And then he started chit-chatting about some troubles he's been having in the bedroom. Chatting about how he hasn't been able to get it up in a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I'll pause that just to say, even that is not necessarily going to get you kicked out of Marilla's.
Oh, no, because you have some
I have supplements
yes.
in my store.
Right.
And I order supplements for people.
This is kind of a conversation that you might have. It's come up on the podcast before.
Yes.
But it's not weird.
Right. So
it's
unfortunately, in my lifetime. Normally, in my lifetime working with supplements and in the health food industry, it is unfortunately not weird that a man will come in and tell me that he's having some struggles down below. And I can recommend supplements for that. So he goes into that, and Dimples is assuming that's where it's going. And then instead of asking for a supplement to remedy this malady, he suggests that she might be able to remedy this malady herself.
For a generous tip? Like seriously. Like,
I don't even know if he was suggesting that he could afford such a service. I don't know.
Just out of the goodness of her heart because they're friends.
Because they're friends? I don't know, but he said that is where he went with that. He was like, I'm having this problem, and I think you're the solution. And I mean, obviously, I think Halie was shocked.
Surprised.
Maybe
uncomfortable.
Perhaps uncomfortable. Yes, I would venture to guess. And then he finished up his conversation, and I'm sure, like, Halie, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in an uncomfortable situation and you're trying to just get out of it. Sometimes it's not the right response, maybe for some, but sometimes you're just like, oh, interesting. Aha. Yes. Okay. Well, have a nice day. I think there was some of that happening.
Sure. Because God,
you didn't sign up for this.
And also I think it can be a little confusing when something goes from one vibe to another.
Right.
When you're not expecting it.
So
and
quickly.
So you just kind of default to customer service mode.
Right. Like, so many times it's kind of like while you're processing, you default to that. Have a great day. And what else? Like, that's a safe place while you can kind of like gather your thoughts. So he finishes up his statement and then has the audacity to ask for a hug, a physical hug.
Were they huggers before? Were they huggers?
Yeah, I would say they were. I mean, they'd known each other for a long time, so it wasn't uncharacteristic to ask for a hug or for them to hug, but
not after
given the context of the discussion.
This is not, we've just volunteered together at the local whatever.
Yeah, we didn't just volunteer at like the blood donor, thing. Good job, team. Like, this is, hey, my wiener's floppy. And by the way, could I have a hug? Like, oh, and I think that you might make it less floppy. By the way, can I have a hug?
You know what, Marilla? Would you be comfortable inviting Halie on the show to discuss her interpretation, experience?
Hell yes.
Yes. Because it would be good to get it straight from Dimple's mouth. Right?
Straight from the dimples.
Straight from the dimples themselves.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Thank you for coming on, Halie.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. This is so exciting.
I know. So, Halie, could you introduce yourself and maybe let us know what your relationship with Marilla is?
Yes, I am Halie. I have been an employee of Marilla's for the past 2+ years.
2+.
And yeah, we just kind of hang out and laugh and sweep the floor and
we burp a lot.
And yeah, I just am the Geneva store manager currently, and we just hang out and have fun.
That's right. It's all fun vibes.
And
Probably.
shopkeep. There is work there.
There's a little bit of shopkeeping, but it's mostly fun vibes. You know?
We sing and we dance and we burp and
yes.
And in between those things, we help customers. Yeah. Righto.
So Marilla was telling us about one of your customers, but before we dive right into that fiasco, I imagine in your life behind a counter, have you worked behind a counter before, Marilla's?
it is all I've ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To it, right?
I
So
just
good.
can't get enough.
But I imagine in your life behind a counter, you have had some moments that felt a little warm. A little
Hot under the collar.
Yeah.
And I think our listeners and we certainly would like to hear a little bit about those moments if you could share.
Yeah.
What kind of crushes? Oh, God. Well, everyone has a crush on me that
This is
I've
true.
encountered.
I must say, not to get in the way of your stories, but like the way that Halie enchants people is.
Yeah. It's never the people that I would like to enchant, but I do enchant people.
You do.
What's your secret for the rest of us?
Well, I get paid to smile and ask people how they are. So that really goes a long way. People love to talk about themselves. And
It's true.
I am good at listening. So,
It's true.
yeah.
And you have great dimples.
And the dimples.
You're charming. Yeah, But you've had a couple
Yeah.
people falling madly in love with you.
I've had some stories.
So I think like part of the trickiness is though, like sometimes you really do. I mean, often you really do want to engage with your customer. You really do like them. You
Yeah.
really do care.
Right.
You really do like, you're not just doing it because you're getting paid.
Right.
So I can understand how those signals can get mixed
Yes.
very easily.
Bless
They
their
happen in the
hearts.
real world in a way.
For sure.
And they certainly happen behind a counter.
Behind a counter.
In the real world, you have a little bit more autonomy to be able to just walk away and end the conversation. If you're in the prison, I've used that word twice now. in this episode,
Oh my
the
God.
prison of your store.
Yeah.
Now I love my store, and you love your store.
Yes.
And apparently, all you guys do is burp and joke and sing all day. So you probably like your
We're
job,
like,
Halie.
it's fun. Disney princesses.
But it starts to feel like a prison when you can't
Yeah, you
escape the
can't-
person who's giving you unwanted attention.
Yeah.
yes.
It feels like there's no out to the conversation. Like the conversation lasts as long as this person wants to stand in front of me and talk to me.
Yeah.
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 We talked about that on assumptions a little bit. And after the assumptions episode dropped, I was like, man, I hope the customers don't think that I'm talking about them when I say, oh, this person just gammers on and on and
Right.
on and on. But I want to add, kind of as a tangent, that if you're self-aware enough to worry that we're talking about you on the podcast, you are not the
yeah.
person we're talking about on the
Right.
podcast.
Yes.
That's all there is to it.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes.
And scene. Good statement. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, right.
All right, let's now move.
Shall we?
I
we dive in?
Let's-
I think we gotta.
I think we got to get to the meat and potatoes of
yeah.
it. That's a gross way to talk about it.
Yeah.
We got to get to the
Get to the Randall of it all.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had a huddle beforehand and we all decided that we would just give this person a nickname so that we could discuss this
Yeah.
the way we should.
Yeah.
And Halie, you suggested Randall.
Yeah.
Nickname Randy.
Randy.
Randy Randall.
Raunchy Randy.
So yeah, we want to know. I want to know, how your day went that fateful day when
Yeah.
Randy came in and had to bend your ear.
Well, yeah. So there is so much to go
Walk
into
us
with this.
through this. Take your time.
So, I've been at the shop for 2 years now. This person has shopped there as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
We
on and off, not very
on and off.
intensely,
Yeah,
but
not
yeah.
intensely, but every once in a while. And we kind of got to know each other. He is a very elderly man.
Very elderly.
He's in his 90s. Mm-hmm. And I thought that we had sort of a grandparent, grandchild relationship.
As you would.
As I'm not thinking this is my next boyfriend. But you never know what someone else is thinking.
This is true.
So, we had gone out to lunch a couple of times. I pegged him as a lonely older person.
Right.
And I thought, he has granddaughters around my age.
That's so true.
Let me, if I have a couple hours free on a Sunday afternoon, why not meet this person for lunch out in public
Right.
and just chitter chatter about our lives?
right.
This man has other thoughts, apparently. Randy.
Oh, Randy.
So, it kind of got to a point before the final event.
The fateful day.
Where he had made a comment one time because he was trying to, see when we could hang out, see if he could take me out to dinner after work. And I was like, I'm very busy. I work here, and then I usually go home and I make candles, and I have cats at home that need me to come home after work.
Right.
And he said, "You're too busy. You work too much. You need a sugar daddy."
I mean, yes.
What?
I mean, 1,000%.
Wait, now I'm listening.
Yeah. And, I could agree with that if
Who couldn't?
if it were someone else.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
But also no.
But
Like,
also, I'm taking care of business.
Lifestyle
I'm
that you,
doing okay.
That's not the person you are. You're fine.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
And also,
I like the things I do.
Right. And also, not to insult anyone. Actually, I don't care. Randy is not exactly a part of the 1%. Okay? Like, we're not talking billions.
He has told me his money woes.
Oh my God. Yeah, but you need a sugar daddy.
I need a sugar daddy.
Maybe you
Who
both
is
need
it?
one.
Yeah. Who
can
is
you
it,
introduce
Randy?
me to one of your friends?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So
that's a little,
it was
that's a little
awkward.
red flag.
It was a red flag.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest previous to the fateful day red flag. And Lizzie was there that day, and she said, "Watch it, Randy."
Watch it, Randy. Yeah, that's Lizzie. In case you're just joining us, Lizzie is my baby sister who also is employed at Marilla's Mindful Supplies. We love her. She will bully you.
She takes no shit.
She takes no shit.
And I appreciate that
We
when
love
I'm in
her
an
for it.
awkward situation with Randy.
Yeah, right. So watch it, Randy.
Watch
Lizzie
it, Randy.
pipes up.
And I said, "Oh, ha, 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 ha."
He said that to you in person?
He said it to me in person. We were
Ugh.
standing by the table.
Oh, for some reason, I pictured this as a text.
Me too.
No,
That's
no.
in person.
But
That's
in
yeah.
person, he
No,
said, "You need a sugar daddy," and Lizzie's like, "Watch it, Randy."
Yes.
It's like the Wild West.
She's just walking by and she goes, "Watch it, Randy."
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
She does a
That's
good
nice.
job
She's
of that.
single.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. She's a little young for me anyway.
Yeah.
Watch it, Beth. Okay, so we had a red flag.
We had a red flag, and then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna. He would sometimes text me and be like, "How are you? How are you doing? This is what's
Yeah.
going on in my life, blah, blah, blah." And I kind of stopped responding at that point because
passes.
things were made clear.
Yeah, gross, weird. Clear enough.
Clear enough, for sure. And then on the fateful day, I'm working alone at the shop, and he comes in, and he is concerned.
Ew.
He
already.
says, I got something on my mind. And I'm like, "What's going on, Randy? What's up?" And he tells me, "I am just, as a man, this is taking a toll on me. I'm no longer able to get an erection."
Oh, God.
And I said, "You're in your 90s.
Ever practical. Love that.
I said, "Well, I think you should talk to your doctor about that, if that is a concern of yours."
Incredible
And-
advice.
And he said, "I have." And my doctor just told me that I'm getting older. I was like, "Well, yeah."
Right.
And he proceeds to tell me that he feels a connection between us.
Ooh,
he feels
no,
an
no, no.
energy between us. Yes.
You're like an energy, like a supplement that I could order for you, perhaps?
Literally the only reason I need to know that you have a flaccid penis is if you want me to order you a supplement for
Horny
it.
goat weed.
Horny goat
We
weed.
can get that for
Yes.
you.
I work in a place that
Nice
sells
plug.
vitamins.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't, other than that, I really do not want to hear about your penis.
Absolutely not. Under no circumstances.
Under no circumstances at my place of employment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trapped behind the counter.
I think the difference is the vibe. We always
Yes.
come back to the
It's
vibe.
the vibes.
It's every time. You know when somebody authentically is trying to have a conversation with you about their situation and seeking some help.
Right.
And you also know when somebody is Randy.
Being a creep lord.
Yes. Yes.
Creep lord.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's telling me that I have a flaccid penis, but I feel this energy between us.
Ugh.
And I think maybe we could figure something out here.
God. Oh.
And I was like, sweating.
Sweat. So much sweat. I can,
And we have in the past hugged. So this man, Randy, asks me for a hug.
This Randy man.
This Randy man. And I come out from behind the counter and give him a little
most
pat on the
awkward.
shoulder. Reach over the shoulders and give him a pat. And he stops me. We're like holding like that. And he says, move your hips closer to mine.
It's so
says move your hips.
inappropriate.
I would have punched him in the nuts.
Yeah.
You're
I was like,
a better woman than I am, Halie.
Yes. Well, and I could
Yes, I am, Marilla.
Yes, no, she is.
I know it's just like we got to break down the response, though. We can break down the response.
Yeah. So he says this.
He says this. We're still touching shoulders.
Tapping shoulders.
He's trying to like pull me a little closer, trying to touch bump uglies or whatever. And I said, I'm not going to do that, Randy.
Yeah.
And then I let go.
And then
I was like,
noise.
and then he like, I don't remember exactly what was said after that, but he was kind of like rambling, like, oh, I find you, like, you're just such a beautiful person and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know where you're going with this.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I kind of blacked out.
Right. And then she started texting Marilla.
Yeah, then I started texting Marilla frantically and said,
While he's still in the store?
Yes. Yes. I don't remember at all how the conversation ended. I think I reiterated, talk to your doctor.
Right.
I don't know what you're looking for here. Even though I do, but I want you to actually say it out loud.
Right. Coward.
Yeah, coward.
Coward. Ugh.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let's pause for a second. And first of all, I would like to say I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you,
Because
Beth.
what a freaking shame.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you do feel a little bit violated when that kind of
Yes.
stuff happens, because you are kind of, it's like your kindness and your receptiveness, your openness, your generosity in lots of different levels gets turned against you.
Yes.
And you just end up feeling gross.
Yeah.
And that's not a great way to get paid for being a nice person.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I am a very understanding person. So like even after this happened in my mind, I was like, well, maybe it was still an innocent situation. Like maybe I'm in the wrong
And you
somehow.
wish- I find that in my experience, I'll blame myself.
Yes.
Because if I can change my thinking, then it means it didn't happen or it wasn't that nasty.
It wasn't
or
as
that
serious.
gross.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I could change something about my behavior that makes somebody else less of a jerk because it's painful when somebody else is a jerk.
Yeah.
Especially somebody that you kind of trusted and liked.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I thought he was a friend of mine. When he would text me, he would say, "Hi, friend, how are you?"
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
Classic friend behavior.
Yeah, classic friend behavior.
Oh, yeah. Just the worst. And I think just to put a dot on the end of what you were saying, Beth, it's like it makes you feel somehow bad about being so good at your job. Like it's something that, like, as a shopkeeper, I feel good when I can make people feel welcome and understood and like give them a moment of connection.
Yes.
And you just feel like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
it feels gross to be like thinking I'm good at my job. I'm doing stuff that makes me good at my job. And then you just feel like taken advantage of. I don't know.
Yeah, and it was
Abused somehow.
Yeah, it was extra just like disappointing because I did feel like I had a friendship with this person. I was never close to my own grandparents. I felt like I had like a grandparent figure in my life.
Right. And because this person does kind of purport himself as a very grandfatherly figure in the community too, which is concerning.
Yes.
By the way.
Yes.
But there's no way that you would have thought that he wasn't that way.
Exactly.
Or bringing that to the table.
Exactly.
But that friendship, I mean, I have to be completely honest. I feel like we always like overanalyze when stuff like this happens. You know, you shot me a text and I feel like I came right down. I mean, I missed him. I was going to fight him, but he got away.
Yes. You said, "Are you okay? What the fuck was that?" And I said, I never
say those words.
Yeah. I don't really know what that was.
Right.
Marilla, I think we got to pause. I think
you're right. I think I'm getting sweaty. Mm-hmm. We've been talking for 7 years. And yeah, like There's a lot
There's
that
a
we
lot.
just covered.
There's a lot. And this, we haven't even begun to talk about how you and Halie responded.
Right. We haven't even begun to unpack. You know, what you do or what we did in the moment.
Mm-hmm. I think those are interesting things, though. What you could do, your various options, and what you actually did do, and how that played out.
Right.
How you made the decision.
There's a lot of layers. Mm-hmm. It's like a chubby little onion.
A chubby little
onion that we are going to peel back the layers.
Next episode. Because we're this deep in and we haven't, I mean, we've got so much more to talk about. But the good news is this is our first part 2.
This is our first part 2. This is a milestone. Congrats. I just could have never guessed. I could have never guessed that
this particular topic
would take 2 episodes.
Especially when I said no to even doing 1 episode on this topic.
That is something worth mentioning. We weren't even going to do this episode in the first place. And here we are doing it 2 times. Mm-hmm. Because we have at least, you know, maybe, who knows? Stay tuned. Could be our first 3-part.
Okay, so visit us in 2 weeks when we return with more Halie and Halie and Marilla's journey into hopefully what will be a resolution of this story.
And if 2 weeks is just too long to wait, then remember we have tons of episodes that you can listen to while you wait. Visit the catalog. Share it with your friends. Talk about Thank You for Understanding wherever you go.
Contact us on social media and say what you think Marilla should have done.
Yes. Oh my God, we'll be so busy. All right. See you guys on Instagram and Facebook. Okay.
We chat about the biz. It is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or at tyfupod.com. Our theme music was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker.
We're
just reporting.
We're just reporting the facts.
We don't make the news. We just report it.
And that's